think when we set up kind of SCIS, one of our key objectives was to build a network of people doing work on kind of inequality from the perspective of countries in the global south.
One of the main things that we found as part of this working on this project was the significant lack of understanding of what intersectionality is. And I think Hannah can also recall, even in presenting this idea of wanting to do this, there's lots of questions about, okay, what is intersectionality? Like, is intersectionality a theory? Is it an approach? Is it a kind of methodology? How do we do intersectionality? We hope to also identify some of the best practices and strategies for integrating intersectionality in policy making, but also at the programmatic level. So where does intersectionality, how do we actually integrate intersectionality in grant making? How do we influence policies? How do we take this research outside of kind of our academic spaces and to areas where we can actually influence change.
The synthesis report is the culmination, as I think about it, of a collective process designed to identify the important lessons on the benefits, limits, and obstacles of incorporating an intersectional lens. I want to present some of the key learnings and insights not in the format they're in the synthesis report, in a kind of back to front way. So you'll see, other than the three principles, I'm presenting them in a slightly different orientation. So the first one is rather something that Siviwe has already alluded to in her introductory remarks, which I think is one of the things that I think over time we came to see as something distinctive and valuable about the particular contribution these case studies could make, and a point we try to highlight in the synthesis report, is that the organizations we partnered with consider research and action as intricately linked and mutually informing. So this is not research for research's sake. This is not research entirely embedded in, or at least only embedded within a scholarly community. It's academic research that has life and legs that move in directions far beyond that.
There have been many instances that we recognize where the intersectional framework has been useful in bringing sort of like a wider lens through which issues can be appreciated by the UN, for instance. And this is important for change, and we recognize that.
In the Global South, I am very much convinced, and I hold the conviction that we have been and will always be inherently intersectional, right? And with that, we are falling back on our own long-standing, knowledges on social processes and discourses, through social movements, our own indigenous knowledges.
I'm an economist, by the way, so I'm the numbers guy. Hannah, you mentioned earlier there's power in numbers, right? But it also strips out nuance when you use numbers. So that's kind of how some of this fits in. I think most people would agree that quantitative approaches are not ideal for this, right? We're quantifying, we're not getting rich or nuanced data. But how do you get at this even with qualitative tools, right? It's difficult, and there aren't a lot of I think great examples of how to get at this type of information in a way that's contextually relevant and sensitive. So what would we say? How does WIGO's research or way of thinking about research and how we use it in our broader mission, how does it align with intersectionality? And I think that's the word we used, align. Not saying we are or aren't intersectional in our approach, but where are the complementarities? WeGo's overall mission, and in particular the way we think about our research, is in pursuit of a fair and equitable society, which I think probably reflects all of the presentations that we have here as well. The focus is first and foremost on actionable research centered on the experiences of workers in the informal economy. So it's the experiences of the workers that need to come through. WeGo has a theory of change that is based on something we call the 3 V's, voice, visibility, and validity for informal workers. And I think if we're true to our mission and sort of incorporate that in what we do with research and advocacy and movement building, it's fairly closely aligned with the values of intersectionality, in particular in terms of trust building and attention to context.